All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Xtra Innings Podcast. Your host, Elijah. Today is Wednesday, January 28th. You'll probably hear this on Thursday, the 29th. But yeah, it's been a minute since I've done one of these podcasts, man. To be honest with you, it's been a while. I think the last episode that I did, that I remember recording, that I could find on my recordings, was actually the night of the game before the Yankees got eliminated in the DS. I think that was the last one that I recorded. I don't know. Maybe honestly, after that series, I was so deflated after how horrible the Yankees played in that series that I was just like, I'm done for the year. So I didn't record anymore for the year, honestly. I watched all the World Series. That was an incredible World Series, mind you, Dodgers and Blue Jays. But I wasn't going to record anymore that year. I had enough. But the idea moving forward now, the idea is to do these every Sunday and have them out on Monday morning. So that's my plan. That's the goal. I'm still working with how I'm going to do this. I got a new computer. I got a new camera. I'm looking here because I have all my data here and I'm recording here. So I want to make sure that I got it right here for you who are just listening. I'm talking about looking at my computer. So if you're watching the video, my camera's here, but my stuff's here and my notes are here. So it's kind of a weird setup. I'm still working on it. I'm going to fix it. I think I can do this. But I digress. So we're going to work through this. I'm hoping every Sunday, especially going through the season, especially moving from now to the end of time, Sundays into Mondays, right? So record on Sunday, release on Monday. That's the plan. And I'm going to look, if you've been listening to the podcast, if you're a friend of mine, if you know that I do this, I've been going like seriously back and forth on when I'm going to do these, and then I'm consistent and then I'm not consistent. Life's crazy, right? Life's crazy, especially when you're not getting paid to do this. So the plan is to keep this as consistent as possible. And the way I can do that is record on Sundays, either put it out Sunday or put it out Monday. So we're going to see how that works, how that works. But into the episode, moving forward, we got one football game left in the NFL. All bowl games are done. We got one football game left, and everyone gets sad. Everyone's like, oh my God, football season's over. How sad. No, man. Baseball season's right here. Every time I get to the Super Bowl, I'm like, I love football season. I love the fall. I love the winter. I love watching football, but baseball it's my bread and butter. Baseball's it, man. I'm pumped. We got one football game left. I don't even know, it was the Patriots and somebody else going to the Seahawks, I think, going to the Super Bowl. I digress. I don't know. I don't care. But in literally, I think like 13 days, I think I got it, or maybe 14, not maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. I just know that the date is 2/13 that pitchers and catchers report. I think there's a range of, I think it's February 10th through 13th that pitchers and catchers are reporting. So it's an exciting time. Baseball season is here. We got the World Baseball Classic starting on the 3rd. Even better, right? Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be insane. The World Baseball Classic in 2022, if you didn't know, was intense. It was insane. The last one that we got was, and everyone saw I'm looking something up real quick. Hold on. Before I get into what I was about to say, everyone remembers the insanity of the end of that game between Team USA and Japan, with Shohei Ohtani pitching to Mike Trout, and obviously Shohei coming out on top and Japan winning the World Baseball Classic that year. With Mike Trout was the captain that year as well, so that's even crazier. But this year it's going to be insane. I think this might be the most stacked lineup I've seen from Team USA. I'm not even kidding. Like this lineup is insane. I got it here. So pitchers, and again, this hasn't been finalized, so we could definitely see more people on this roster here. We got David Bednar. This is these are relief pitchers, right hand. They're not starters, whatever. We don't know yet. Dave Bednar, Clay Holmes, Griffin Jacks, Brad Keller, Clayton Kershaw, who has, I guess some people haven't said that he's retired. Obviously he's not playing again this year. He called it. But obviously he's going to be pitching. If any, I really thought he'd be in a coaching capacity when I saw the announcement. Like maybe he'd kind of be a coach, but he's on the roster to pitch. I don't know if we'll see him pitch, but he'll be there. We got Nolan McLean, We got Mason Miller. We got Joe Ryan, Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal, Gabe Spear. I'm not sure where he plays at. And then Logan Webb. So, yeah, pitchers were stacked. Catching, we got Will Smith and Cal Raleigh, studs. We got on the infield, we got Ernie Clement, Bregman, Gunnar Henderson, Bryce Terang, Bobby Witt Jr. Stop it. God. Come on now. And then outfielders, we got Byron Buxton, Corbin Carroll, Pete Crow Armstrong, Aaron Judge. The only person I'm worried about is Pete Crow Armstrong just because he's struggled really badly at the end of the year. So hopefully he can figure that out and bring it all together. And then we got DHs, we got Kyle Schwarber. So stacked. Obviously, Mark DeRosa is the coach. He was the coach in 2022 as well. We got Andy Pettit on staff as the pitching coach. We got Matt Holliday, George Lombard, David Ross, Freddie Gonzalez, Brian McCann, Michael Young. We got a star-studded roster and coaching staff. I mean, it's insane. World Baseball Classic is going to be insane. That should be starting on March 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. Oh, Thursday, March 5th is when it starts. I'm actually going to try to catch some games because they're actually playing in Houston. So I'm going to try my best to get down there and catch a couple games. But anyway, World Baseball Classic. It's going to be insane. I'm pumped. I'm excited. I'll probably be watching more World Baseball Classic than I'm watching spring training. I'm not huge on watching spring training. A lot of people are like, oh, spring training, I love watching. It depends. It depends on what I'm watching. I do kind of like to see the depth of some of these, especially a lot of the prospects. That's interesting to see and kind of seeing, obviously you got the guys that are on the fringe that are going to maybe make the roster. Some that are kind of on the fringe, those are cool to see too. You want to see those guys that are going to break out. Some guys break out in spring training and they make the 40 and you never know. So you never quite know what you're going to see, but for spring training, I'm kind of like, it's a mixed bag. But never mind. We're going to move on. So what I had on the docket today, and I haven't talked baseball in a long time. I watch baseball every day. There's every offseason, does not matter. I have MLB Network on. We're watching. I'm looking at stuff. So I don't stop. It's weird. I don't stop, but I'm not talking about it. I haven't talked about it, but I haven't stopped looking at it. So we're going to start off with the top free agent signees so far. And this offseason has been kind of weird. There hasn't been like a whole lot of stuff happening. It's kind of been sporadic. So the big one that everyone was waiting for that everyone didn't know where he was going to go, whether it was to the Mets, the Blue Jays, the Dodgers, whoever, right? Kyle Tucker. So Kyle Tucker signs obviously to the Dodgers. That was about last week or late 2 weeks ago. He signed to the Dodgers. What do you say? I mean, here's the thing. You can never blame someone for going to the Dodgers. I'm never going to be like, why? Right? It's very evident and obvious why you want to play for the Dodgers. I mean, it's not take a rocket science to figure out why someone wants to sign to LA. You want to win? If you want to win, play your odds. Who's got the best chance? The Dodgers. I think the second you go New York, I mean, that's maybe the other option there, right? I mean, Toronto's another good spot after what they showed last year, and they did some signings as well, some re-signings. So, it's a toss-up. But at the same time, the guy who came from Houston, who won it with them in 2017, goes to Chicago. He wants to win another ring. It's been damn near almost 10 years since he's won. I'm sure that's on his mind. There was a lot of stuff about his effort and whether he even likes to play baseball. I don't know where that comes from. I mean, it kind of gave everyone the thought that maybe he was going to turn into like another Anthony Rendon, which if you've been paying attention to the offseason, apparently they bought him out of his contract finally, which is just, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole other time. But yeah, that came up at some point, whether he even wanted to play or where baseball ranked on his hierarchy of like what he wanted out of life, I guess. I don't know. It was really strange where that came from. I don't know why that was like a surfacing thing, because he's very calm and lackadaisical that maybe it looked like he didn't even want to play baseball, but that was an option, or that was a conversation piece for Kyle Tucker. But yes, he is a Dodger, $240 million, another short. But mind you, before we even go through the rest of these, they're all short, all of them. I think we're seeing 3 to 4 years max. I think maybe Bregman got a 5. We're not seeing the Aaron Judge, the Bryce Harpers, these long 10-year. I think the last big contract we saw was probably Judge or maybe Garrett Cole. for these really long contracts. You're just not seeing them anymore, and especially this offseason. Maybe that's because of the CBA expiring at the end of the year. I don't know, but none of these are long contracts. So moving on. So obviously Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers, and they did defer a good chunk of that cash. Of course they did. High AAV, by the way, massive high AAV. It's crazy. Alex Bregman to the Cubs. That was so. This is funny. I have a few friends that are Red Sox fans, and I obviously I watch Jared Carabas and his stuff. Massive Red Sox fan. For some reason, Boston was dead set that they were going to get Bregman no matter what after he opted out. I'm assuming they thought that he liked it there. I don't know. I didn't watch a lot of the Red Sox this year. I watched kind of towards the end when they pulled up, Peyton Tolley and Connolly early, and they've got a lot of exciting young guys to watch. So again, baseball's in a fun spot all the way around. Let's just be honest. But that was apparently a shock to Red Sox fans everywhere. Was Bregman leaving? And here's the funny thing. So for casual Red Sox fans, they're probably like, Bregman's our guy. And Boston really, really backed him. He did well. He played well. I mean, Bregman's a good ball player. So, like, obviously the city was going to love him anyway. The big thing was that it came down to money and contracts, I think, from what I understood. And Bregman wanted a no trade. Boston wasn't going to give him the no trade. It was that or opt-outs. I don't remember the specifics of it. It was something with opt-outs and trade clauses that Boston wasn't putting in their offers. And apparently that had been a topic of conversation between Boris Bregman and the Red Sox. They didn't get it from the Red Sox, yet they were still so confident that he was going to sign there. And then he didn't. He just flipped the script, went to Chicago, and apparently they gave him what he wanted in the contract. So, I mean, hey, I know they had Matt Shaw there for a good chunk of time, but I guess Bregman's going to play third. It'll be interesting. Moving on, Schwarber. I had never had a doubt that he was going to leave. There was some talk that maybe he'd go to Pittsburgh because he's a Pittsburgh kid. I never thought that was. I just didn't see. Apparently, Pittsburgh put an offer. I just don't think that it was ever going to be significant enough. It's going to be significant. We got dogs snoring here. I don't know why we got dogs in here right now, but these dudes snore like crazy. But yeah, there was rumors that Pittsburgh was going to throw their name in the ring for him. I never quite thought that to be an option. I just didn't see them. And apparently they put an offer. I just didn't ever see him going there. Schwarber wants to win. Schwarber's been in Philly for a while. That's really where like people see. When I see Kyle Schwarber, I know he was a Cub for a while. But when I think Kyle Schwarber, I think Philly. So that was probably going to be a no-brainer. He signed that during the winter meeting. So that was done a while ago. The big one, another big one. We got Bo Bichette, who signed to the New York Mets. There was talk of whether they were going to try to keep him and Vladdy together in Toronto. That didn't happen, obviously, though they paid Vladdy. There was rumors right before he signed to New York that he was going to be a Philly. That one also didn't make sense. So we're going to talk about the Mets with this trade specifically. So I heard a lot of stuff, read a lot of different things that he was going to be a Philly. And for some reason, a lot of clubs are set, and maybe it's just his projection that they want him to play third. I know that he's been a shortstop pretty much his entire career. And he played a little bit of second due to the knee injury in the World Series, and he wasn't present in any of the postseason until the World Series. Played him at second. He did okay. Obviously, he was injured. You could tell he was wincing a little bit, not really totally himself. But now everything I've read is that people want him at third. And of course, projectability, skill set, whatever. I don't see the problem with him playing third. Most of the time you see a lot of infielders. You saw Jazz go from outfield to second to third, now back to second. These are professional athletes, and I'm sure that they can play all positions. I'm not doubting that. It's hard. It's very hard to do that. Some guys can, some guys can't. I wasn't super huge fan of Jazz going to third, and there was a glaring hole until they got McMahon. So third is a tough spot. Third's not like playing short, and it's not like playing second. It is a big jump. A lot of people will think, oh, it's infield. It's not the same. So, them the Phillies thinking that they were going to put him at third, because you have Turner at short, you got Stott at second, you got Harper at first. The question mark, which he's been a question mark for the Phillies now for quite some time, is Alec Boehm. There was the couple years back, if you remember, the thing with Alec Boehm when he made errors and he was having a really tough time in Philly, was when he was like, "Man, I fucking hate this place," and it was all over the internet, and it kind of blew up, and wasn't a good look for Alec Boehm. Yeah, that was one of the things. If they were going to get Bichette, I'm assuming that they were going to they're going to have to deal Boehm. I mean, there's nowhere else you can put him. You're not moving him to first because Bryce Harper's at first, though there was a lot of drama with Bryce Harper in the offseason as well, with the Dave Dombrowski saying that Bryce Harper's no longer elite and all that stuff. That was a bit much, but neither here or there, right? For Bo Bichette, they wanted to put him at third. Apparently, New York came in, swooped in, and took him. So he's going to go to New York. Well, I did find peculiar about this signing. Again, they're going to put him at third. What I did find weird, I watched the press conference. So I actually watched the press conference for Kyle Tucker, and I watched it for Bo Bichette because they were the same day. I actually dual played them on MLB Network, so I was watching them. So they did a Q&A for Bo Bichette in New York with Dave Stearns and Carlos Mendoza. Everybody was there. And they start the Q&A. Obviously, Bichette's manager is there as well. And they're asking questions. Everything's cool. And then somebody asks him, like, "Hey, do you see yourself being in New York for a long period of time?" And Bo looked like he'd just been shot. He was like, "Look, you want to answer?" And of course, there's opt-outs in this contract. I think it was a 3-year opt-out after 2 and 3. I mean, after 2. But they're like, "Do you see yourself being here for a long time?" And he was like, I don't know. Like, "Hey, can you answer this for me?" And it was just kind of like, simple question, bro. Are you gonna play here for a while or you're not? Like, it was really strange. And the agent gave the most blatant, boring answer you've ever heard. Like, "Well, he's very excited to play in New York and he's ready to get the season going and he's excited for what the season," a bunch of bullshit, right? And you're just kind of like, why couldn't you just say that? Like, it was just really weird. So how excited he is to be in New York, obviously, is yet to be seen. The Mets are an interesting team right now. And before we move on, I just feel it important to say this. I'm excited to watch the Mets because, again, I don't hate the Mets. I've never hated the Mets. I was a big fan of them like in 15, 16, 14, 15, 16, when they had the Matt Harvey, Noah Syndergaard, Stephen Matz, all those guys. They're a great team. I went to the World Series that year. The Mets are cool, man. I have no beef with the Mets. As a Yankee fan, I got no beef with the Mets. And I saw that they were signing all these guys. They did the Simeon deal. They traded some longtime Mets and Brandon Nimmo. Obviously they let Pete Alonso go, but they also let Edwin Diaz go to the Dodgers as well. That was another big signing. Obviously, that it just happened so long ago that it kind of slipped my mind. They obviously got Juan Soto. So they've got a weird team, right? The infield right now, as I saw it, and Jorge Polanco is another guy that signed. I forgot that one as well. And then obviously they're just stealing Yankees left and right. They got Luke Weaver on a 2-year deal, Devin Williams on another 2-year deal. It's just a weird buildup of like guys. Yes, some are superstars. I think Luke Weaver maybe have some left in the tank. He wasn't the same guy last year as he was in 24. Devin Williams didn't play well in New York. Had spots of where he looked like himself, and then spots where he did not look good at all. And it's just kind of this buildup of guys, right? You got, you got Bo Bichette, you got Marcus Simeon, you got Luke Weaver, you got all these guys, and it's just this big mass of guys. Like right now, you've got Lindor at short, Simeon at second, and right now you're banking on a guy who's never played third in his career to play third. And at first, you got Mark Vientos, but they're also saying that they're expecting Jorge Polanco to play at first, again, Moneyball reference, first is not an easy task if you've never played. Again, these are professional athletes. I'm confident they can figure it out. But to play at an elite level when you just had Pete Alonso at first base, not a lot of confidence there. I'm not quite sure what I don't know. It's a very huge question mark. Outfield is still okay. Obviously, you got Francisco Alvarez behind the plate. I mean, The infield is the biggest question mark. Obviously, they're going to have strength in the lineup if these guys can hit. Starting pitching wise, I think they're fine. You got Nolan McLean. You got Jonah Tong if he's good. They just dealt Brandon Sprout. For Freddie Alvarez, who is also on my list, we're going to just talk about him now. Yes, Freddie Alvarez coming over from Milwaukee on a really awesome club-friendly deal. I think he's got another 2 years of control. Who has already mentioned that he'd be open to playing long term in New York. So that's a big thing for New York. But starting pitching wise, I think they give the opening day start to McLean. But again, you got Freddie, who I think they're going to give it to Freddie. But yeah, the Mets are just they have a lot of good pieces. I just don't know if the pieces fit the puzzle. That's the best way I can put it. So. Yeah, interesting enough. But yes, Bo Bichette is a Met. Whether he likes it, I don't know. I can't tell. Cody Bellinger re-signed with the Yankees. Sorry, I got college burnout over here talking mad shit. Oh, Nick Tanner, what a guy. Cody Bellinger re-signs with the Yankees. Pretty solid. Kind of one of those things that it was like we knew. As Yankee fans, we were kind of just waiting. I think it took entirely way too long, but we can blame that on Scott Boras wanting more than what Bellinger, I think, was worth. I know Bellinger was looking for that long-term deal. He wants to do that at this point in his career. I think Boras was overvaluing him just a little bit with the 5+ years, $175 million. It wasn't going to happen. I think they ended up settling on a 135, I think, maybe. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that. But it's a decent deal. It's what you expected for Cody Bellinger. And I think that was kind of one of those things. I think he wanted opt-outs and no trade clauses, which I think he did get. So, yeah, all good there. Kind of one of those things that you knew was going to happen, just kind of a matter of when, and it took entirely way too long. I think that it also held up quite a few other guys from signing. But I think that Bellinger was also probably ready to go once Tucker went, because I think a lot of people were waiting for Tucker to go to make their move. So, interesting. Obviously, mentioned earlier, Pete Alonso went to the Orioles. I thought Pete Alonso would listen. No beef on the Orioles. I'm not talking shit on the Orioles. I thought Pete Alonso going to the Orioles, yes, they gave him a great deal. Yes, they're an up-and-coming team. They got guys like Jackson Holliday, Gunnar Henderson, okay pitching staff. I just thought that maybe Pete Alonso would want to go somewhere that was going to guarantee him a ring. I mean, he could have done in New York. I thought he would be a Yankee. I thought the Yankees were going to pursue him a little bit harder, given that they don't have a first baseman and they've been using Ben Rice. And, we had Goldschmidt, who's 37 and probably on his way out of the league at this point. I thought maybe the Yankees would put a higher bid in for him. I guess they didn't want to pay it, whatever. I guess they're going to stick with Rice, which I guess is your future. So, I mean, whatever. I thought maybe just somewhere else. Somewhere else. I thought, guess not. So Pete Alonso seemed happy. He seemed excited. So that's good there. Dylan Cease went to the Blue Jays. That was a really early one. Cease was obviously a stud in Chicago for the White Sox, went over to the Padres and was kind of hit or miss. And then signed a big deal with Toronto, who's stacked their pitching lineup even higher, pitching rotation even stronger. Now they got Gausman, Savage. They re-signed Shane Bieber at the end of the year. I think he took a qualifying. I don't think Bieber took a qualifying offer. He just an extension maybe. I don't know, but Bieber will be back. And now Dylan Cease. So Toronto is once again still a force to be reckoned with. Michael King went back to the Padres. He had been with the Padres for a bit. Mentioned this earlier. Ranger Suarez is a Red Sox, so they bolstered that pitching rotation. Obviously, Boston Red Sox are going to be good, man. They're the AL in general is just going to be a cage match. I mean, between the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, it's going to be a tough division. Than it has been. Boston's kind of been pretty the last couple of years, but this, they were a solid team in that wild card. The Yankees just bested them. Even in that last game, if it hadn't been for Cam Schlittler throwing an absolute gem, hey, ball kind of rolls either way there. They had a lot of really exciting things that just as a baseball fan watching that game and watching Boston, I mean, pitching staff is crazy. Obviously, you got Garrett Crochet. You got now Ranger Suarez. You got Connolly Early, Peyton Tolley. I think that Dustin May's still over there too. Like they got just guys. They got some guys, right? So that'll be interesting to see. Mentioned earlier, Freddie Peralta just went to New York, and then obviously Mackenzie Gore just signed with the Rangers or traded to the Rangers. I think I don't know. Yeah, he had to have been traded because he's still under control. So that's good. Rangers again are kind of one of those sneaky teams. Obviously won the World Series in 23, 2024, 2025. Forget it, non-existent, and due to injuries, a lot of different things. But their pitching rotation's not bad. You got to get DeGrom. People forget about Nathan Eovaldi, dude. Like, that dude's a workhorse. I don't care what anyone says. Look at that man's stats and tell me that that's not an absolute workhorse. Come on now. So you got DeGrom, Eovaldi. Now you got Mackenzie Gore. And then you also have I was going to say Al Leiter, but it's Jack Leiter, obviously Al Leiter's son. And then if Kumar Rocker can figure it out, which I think he would be, honestly, as good as he was in Vanderbilt. I've been seeing Kumar Rocker since he was 16 years old. Been watching that kid all the way up. His frame, his mix, his stuff. I personally, obviously, I'm sitting here. I'm not in the Rangers front office, and I'm not talking to their scouts. I personally think that Rocker would be better as a closer, as a short relief guy. That's just me. Obviously, the amount that they paid him and where they drafted him and what they expect of him, he's supposed to be that guy. He's supposed to be a starter. I just didn't see it. I think he would be much better in a relief closer role. But what do I know? But yeah, what I'm saying is the Rangers have some stuff. They got some tools. They got a good rotation. They got obviously some good pieces. They're backed by Corey Seager at short. I think there's still some question marks. You still have Wyatt Langford, who's a stud. They parted with Jonah Heim. They parted with Marcus Semien. So you've got some holes to fill, and obviously the offseason's not over, and I don't know enough about their depth to know what they've got coming up, but interesting to see. But that's so far. I mean, that's so far kind of the big guys you've seen move. Obviously, there's still a bunch of free agents, guys that are at the mid. There's still some A-list guys. There's still some B-list and below. Still a lot of guys that are kind of floating around. You don't really know. But some of the notable guys that haven't signed, I've just got a couple here. There's a bunch of dudes that haven't signed. And I'm sure, with there being 2 weeks left until pitchers and catchers report, basically until spring training starts, you're going to see a lot more guys fall into some slots. But the number one guy that hasn't signed, that a lot of people are watching on MLB Network and just kind of in the back of my head, is Framber Valdez from Houston. And he comes with a little bit of a controversial piece to it, right? Obviously, on one hand, Framber Valdez has been extremely consistent. He eats innings, man. You're going to get a lot of consistency. He's a great pitcher. He's got a crazy amount of quality starts. I was there for like his record-setting quality start thing. Like, Framber Valdez is good. He's a good pitcher. But on the flip side, there was the incident that happened last year with the rookie catcher where he crossed him up purposely and nailed him in the chest with a fastball. That's also something you have to be wary of. You have to know, like, that happened. And as I caught in college, I pitched in college. This isn't a like, oh, throw you fastball. My bad. Like, you can hurt somebody, man. Like, if Framber throwing 95 miles an hour, you're gonna, like, that's just not cool, right? That it's your teammate on a public setting. You made him look really stupid, and like, come on, you don't do that. And it looked really bad. I remember when it happened. I think a lot of people were done with him, and there was numerous other issues in the clubhouse with him. So there's just a lot. There's just a lot that comes with him, which is why I think that no one signed him yet. I think it's a matter of money and he not getting the contract, and then obviously a character thing. So it'll be interesting to see. I know he's been linked to quite a few teams, and obviously there's a lot of teams that can use him. It's whether or not you're willing to deal with everything else. Obviously, it's a forgivable thing, right? Whatever. And again, and I'm not saying I'm the media, but the media runs with things. We get secondhand information. So could it have very well been a cross up, or again, it didn't look like it, but it could have. I don't know. But I think, like, get an explanation of what happened. Let's get on the same foot here on what's going to be happening moving forward, and somebody sign this guy, because again, a lot of value. I didn't bring any water in here. I'm dying. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, next on my list, I got Zach Gallen, who obviously came from Arizona. He's been with Arizona for a while now after he came from Miami, part of that Jazz Chisholm trade. who is still unsigned. Zach Gallen had a really great year in 23 where he started the All-Star game, Cy Young contender. Still overall career-wise has a great ERA. I think it's like a 3 and change. Last year he had a really bad year. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a huge Zach Gallen fan. I think he's a great pitcher. Obviously can eat innings for you as well. Takes the ball every 5th day, no questions. Very durable. Last year, I want to say I watched just about. I'm a heavy Diamondbacks fan, so I watch a lot of Diamondbacks games. I think I caught just about every single one of his starts. I watched the one in New York where he carved up the Yankees. I watched the one in New York where he carved up the Mets, and then he carved up the Dodgers one game. But then there's just games in between, like in Atlanta and then against the Rockies, where he just did not have it. Just got shelled. People were thinking maybe he's unhealthy, he's hurt, he's injured. That never came out because after the All-Star break, he came out a completely different pitcher. I think the first half of the season, he had a 5 ERA. Second half, he was, a 3.4. So again, one of those things where it's kind of like just when you play this game long enough, you're going to have off seasons. I knew, after this year, he was going to be a free agent. So I knew like what poor timing to have a shit season, but kind of redirected a little bit, which I think he was on the up at the end of the year with how he was pitching. Still, with the way this game works, not enough to convince teams to give you that long-term deal you're looking for. So when Arizona offered him the qualifying offer, which I think was like $22 million, I was like, take it. Why wouldn't you take that? Take the 22, reestablish, then go into free agency and sign that deal. I mean, I was sure, like he had already mentioned, I want to be in Arizona. I've been here for 7 years. I've loved it. I would love to reconvene, whatever. And then obviously he's a Boris client, and he turned down the 22. And now at this point, he's 2 weeks away from spring training, and we don't know. I don't know where he's going to go. I've heard Phillies, I've heard Cubs, obviously, again, you're in one of those positions where, yes, a lot of people could use that Gallen. I think we're going to come down to money. He's a Boris guy. So you're now hoping that it doesn't eat into the season. We pull Blake Snell, and that's just disastrous. From where he was, he needs a full season. I don't know how this works. I'm not a GM. Why don't you just have got Boris call fucking Arizona and be like, hey, dude, 22, you had already allotted it. They hadn't signed anybody besides Nolan Arenado, which I don't really count as a massive free agent signing because what do you really expect out of Nolan Arenado? But he's going to play third, by the way. But call Arizona. Hey, you got $22 million. Let's 1 year, $22 million. Let's do it. Why not? What are we waiting for? Just do that. Just do that. Why not? But, what do I know? So another guy who's kind of up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen there. Luis Ariz is the next one on my list. Obviously, he's been with the Padres for the last couple seasons. Came from the Marlins to the Padres. A really great bat to ball guy. Strikes out too much. So, and he's getting up there in age. So it's one of those where you're kind of like, where are we at here with Luis Ariz? So interesting to see there. Eugenio Suarez, another guy who I think is honestly going to land back in Seattle. Or Arizona. Well, I guess I can't go back to Arizona unless they're going to use him at first because they got Nolan Arenado, but those would be the 2 spots that I think he would land. Obviously, was jacking homers. I think he had like 48 or 49 homers last year, but when he got this majority of them coming from Arizona, goes to Seattle and just not the same guy. Had some clutch hits in the postseason when they were playing Toronto, but just not full. Next guy we have is Lucas Giolito. Year off of Tommy John, so we're looking at probably he's ready to go. Maybe he'll reunite with Boston. Maybe, I don't know. That's an option. It's an option. Do I think he will? I don't know. I think there's a lot of guys that would pay him. He kind of lives in the shadow of Crochet, but kind of got that weird short arm action going. So I don't quite know where he's going to land. A lot of these guys are question marks. And now the 3 guys, I saved these 3 for last. They're the old men, the old guys that are still hanging on, in my opinion. First one is Justin Verlander, who signed a 1 year or 2 years with the Giants. Not bad, not great. I mean, just kind of one of those guys who just gave you the 4 or 5 every 5th day, 4 or 5 innings, and just. If you're lucky, he made it into the 6, which I don't think was very often. I watched a couple of his starts and just, again, not bad, he still sits mid-90s, but not good enough for me to be like, I'm gonna sign. Like, I don't know where. Honestly, like, it's a sad day because you're like, Justin fucking Verlander, dude. Like, God, right? Legend. But at this point, you're kind of like, where do you fit? Does he fit back in San Francisco? I don't think so. Like, I don't know. Next is Max Scherzer, who showed that he still got some life in him from pitching in the World Series. But again, another guy where Toronto wasn't necessarily offering him a spot back. He's another guy pushing his late 30s into his 40s. What do you have really left to give? A lot of injury history there. So another guy where you're kind of like, where is he going to end up? I think both of those guys end up somewhere. Same with Chris Bassett, another guy. But the thing about Chris Bassett, which I think, and again, all respect to both these dudes, Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, in the sense that they've had crazy careers. I just think that at this moment in time, Chris Bassett actually has a little bit more value in the sense that he can pitch in multiple different facets. You got guys like Justin Verlander. You're not going to see Justin Verlander come out of the bullpen. We've seen Max Scherzer come out of the bullpen, I think. But these guys are not ready to come out of the bullpen. Like, Bassett will come out of the bullpen, no questions asked. And I think that that's where he kind of has them beat because we've seen Chris Bassett throw it in multiple facets. So those are kind of the big dudes that I've seen right now that are like not signed, that are kind of hanging in the balance with like time really ticking down. Again, for me, I get it. This is their livelihood. This is where they make their money. I would not let it get past spring training. Like, you have a Blake Snell situation, like a Jordan Montgomery situation who didn't sign till like April, and then forget it. He's gone. Like, he had to be dealt at the deadline last year because I think the Brewers wanted Shelby Miller, who ended up getting Tommy John, but the Diamondbacks were going to give him Shelby Miller unless Jordan Montgomery tagged along because they wanted him out of Arizona. So, you want these guys to sign. You want them to sign like ASAP. I want these guys to sign ASAP, man. Some of these guys sitting no baseball would be kind of weird. So, but yeah, guys, that's about all I got today. Again, this will be a random one, like midweek episode if I decide to put it out, which if you're listening to it, I did. Yeah, I'm hoping to do these on Sundays. I think Sunday would be a good time for me to kind of just sit, have some coffee, and just talk baseball about what's going on in the world of baseball. So we're going to get that going. But once again, guys, I'm going to try to be posting these on socials. So if you're following, be sure to check that out. But yeah, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Baseball season is almost here. So let's go.